What's up, guys? So as promised, we're going to be taking a look at the JB4 Mobile app on the phone. We installed that JB4 module a few days ago. I'm loving it. Today's video, I'm going to kind of go over the app, show you what you need to know to get started, how to configure your screen and all that good stuff. We'll go over the settings real quick. I do want to touch on updating the firmware because that's an issue that I ran into, so I want to share with you what happened so you guys don't run into the same problem. And then I'm also going to show you how to get the JB4 up here on the screen on the truck if you have the Beniz box, all right? So let's get into it. We'll give you a look at the app and then cover the rest of that as well. All right, so truck is running. All we're gonna do is click on our JB4 app. Now I have it set up to where it automatically connects, okay? So you can see it's going through its spiel. It's up and running literally in a matter of seconds. If you don't have it set up like that, all you'd have to do is when you open the app, just click on, there's a button right there that would say connect. I just have it set up so when I open the app, it just automatically connects. So here we are on the home screen, and this is where you're gonna spend 99% of your time. You can completely customize this. So you can see I have my RPMs, my GPS speed, my ECU PSI, my boost, my intake air temperature, and what map I'm on, okay? Again, completely customizable, which I'm gonna show you now. I'll show you how to get into the settings and change all that. But that's the main screen. That's where you're gonna spend most of your time. So before I show you how to change any of these settings, I do want to mention, because I know people are going to ask, you can run it in landscape mode. Okay, I usually have it in portrait mode just because I usually have it up here on my phone mount. I know people are going to ask about this too, because every video they do. This is a phone mount that I designed and 3D printed myself, okay? I'm just going to mention that because people always ask about it. But again, you can run it in landscape mode, as you can see. All right, so if you want to go in and change, let's say you don't want to run your intake air temperature. All you got to do is push and hold, and you're gonna get the list of parameter options. Okay, as you can see, there is a ton. Okay, the most common ones are probably gonna be the ones that I have on my screen. Another one that people may like is the AFR, the air fuel ratio. There's a couple others in here that, you know, people might like to have. I'm not going to go into detail on every single one because the video would be a 45-minute video. This is more of just an overview on the app, how to change it, customize it, and all that good stuff. But you can get an idea of, you know, the options that you do have. As far as temperature down here, again, I have my intake air temperature up, but you can do your oil temp, your transmission temp, water temp. So lots of options there. So whatever you want to run, you can go ahead and let's say we want to change it to trans temp. All you do is click on it, and now you can see we have our trans temp down there where our intake air temperature was. Okay, I'm going to change that back to my intake air temperature just because that's what I prefer to have on my screen. All right, so that's how you're going to change any of these modules, or I'm sorry, any of the displays, that if you want to change what you're looking at. All right, so sticking here on the home screen, the other buttons down here, basically you can start logging. What that means is this button right here, start logging. What that means is you can log data from your module. So let's say you were having an issue with the module, or you just wanted to get in depth of what's actually going on with the truck and the module. You can hit that start logging button and then log for however long you want. When you're done, you would hit stop logging. That's going to save a file. And the other time that comes in handy is, again, let's say you're having an issue with the module, you could start a log, you can log some data, send it to JB4, and they can kind of see what's happening, hopefully, to figure out if you're having a problem. I have not done any logs yet. I have no reason to be honest, but if you do one, down here where it says logs, if you just click on that, that's going to bring you into your logs. Okay, so I don't have any. Again, I haven't done that yet. There's really no reason for me to have to do it. All right, next button over here is codes. If you click on that, this will bring you to codes from your truck. So not to get ahead of myself, but again, when I updated my firmware, I did have an issue there, which I'm going to go over, where my truck ended up having a code. I was able to come in here, see what it was, take care of it, and delete it. Okay, so that's what this page would be if you have any error codes on your truck. Okay, last button over here is going to be settings. I'm going to go over a few things in there. That's also where we're going to go over the firmware thing, and again, different ways to customize this home screen. All right, so if we go into settings, you're gonna see I'm logged in as me. Obviously, it tells you what map you're on, firmware version. Down here under advanced, this is where you can go to change more settings. So if we click on that, You can go to user adjustment settings. I have not done anything in here yet. I'll be the first to admit I'm not that advanced. Like I'm not even sure what this page is for. I have to do a little bit more research on that. So I'm just going to cancel back out of there. Where you're probably going to want to go, or most people would probably want to go, is the app settings. So if we go in there, this is where you can come in here and change different views, again, of that home page. So logging settings, that you can come in here and there's different, I haven't really changed any of these. Again, I have no real reason to, but just to give you a look at what's in there. Unit conversion, you could have, you know, obviously I'm running miles per hour and Fahrenheit temp. That's just the units that we use here in my area, but you can change it there if you like. Down here in gauge settings, this is where you can come in and change your home screen. So right now, this top one, you can see we have it on the needle fill gauges. If we click on that, so let me just back up real quick. So on our home screen, this is what's considered the needle fill gauges. Okay, let me pump the art. You can see what happens if you look at the RPMs when I step on the gas. You'll see the needle rise. Okay, so that's needle fill gauges. Coming back into here, if you want to change that, you can change it to bar gauges and circular gauges. So we'll just give you a quick look. The bar gauges, this is what the bar gauge looks like. You can see, again, if we just step on it a little bit, my RPMs aren't on the screen, but you get the picture. They're just bars instead of the needles going around. And then the last option, the circular gauges, this is what that looks like. So there you can see the circular gauges. Now this is the circular gauges, that's the only option you can change. Hopefully it shows up. You can see the blue right there. Like for the gauge part of it, you can go in and change that back in settings. So here we are back here. Again, you can see we're still on circular gauges. We have that LED blue. So let's say you want to let's make it white, because that'll probably show up well on the camera. So let's just do LED white. And now you can see what I mean. It's a white gauge instead of the blue. So you can completely change the color and the look of this screen however you want. I do like the needle fill gauges, so we're gonna go back in and change that back to needle fill. You cannot change the color of that. So again, the circular gauge is the only, like if you come in here, it says right at the top, circular gauge fill color. That's the only option that you can change the color on your home screen. Okay, so on the needle fill gauges, the colors are what they are. These other options in here, Boost Max, FPL Max, those, again, most people are not going to have to change them. I personally, I don't really see a need to change them. Obviously, there may be people out there that have to. I'm just leaving all my values there as default. Works perfectly fine for most applications, just leaving those at default. All right, so next let's go into settings. Same thing, instead of going into app settings, let's go to connection settings. This is where I came in to do the auto connect. As I mentioned, when I open up the app, it just automatically connects to my module. You can turn that off if you don't want that to happen, but you can see the options there. You could set a new pin. Again, I just left mine default. I haven't had to enter the pin since the first time I connected, I believe. I can't even remember if I had to do it then, to be honest. You could also clear saved Bluetooth device. So the options are pretty basic. Now down here, developer options, it says right in parentheses, don't touch. Really, don't touch unless instructed. I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't even clicked on that yet because I don't want to screw anything up, quite frankly. All right, so those are basically the options that you have that you could adjust. It's mostly for that home screen customization. So that's pretty much what you could do and how you do it, how you customize your home screen. All right, so let's go into, I'm gonna show you how to update the firmware and the mistake that I made, so hopefully it helps people out to avoid making avoid having the same issue that I ran into. Before we do that, two other things I want to mention real quick. To change your map, you have to double tap on map, and then this goes into all of, you can see right here, again, we're on map 2. If you put it to map 0, that's stock. So the JB4 module is not doing anything, okay? In parentheses, it'll show you, like if you want to run map 1, see where it says 91 plus in parentheses, that's you have to run 91 octane or higher. Okay, map 2 is 93 octane or better. All right, I'm staying at map 2 for right now because the rest of these you can see, you know, for map 3 it's 93-E30. That's when you start getting into having to mix fuels. I'll be the first to admit I am no expert on that. I've never done it before. I have started to do some research on it, but to run map 3 or higher, that's when you have to start getting into mixing gasoline to come up with that mixture. Again, maybe I'll cover that in better detail down the line. I'm perfectly happy with map 2 anyway. The power is phenomenal. So I just don't want to get into that just yet. We've only had the module on for a few days. I'm perfectly happy with map 2, but it will tell you in parentheses what you need to run. There's apps out there that you can get to help you do the calculations to mix the fuel and all that stuff. So feel free, if that's what you want to do, go nuts. But that's why we've only ran up to map 2 so far, which again, I'm perfectly happy with how it feels in driving at that point. All right, so that's your map. So we're just going to click on cancel because we want to stay in map 2. The last thing I want to mention real quick, because this is probably going to be asked, what's the difference between ESU, PSI, and boost? What that is, from my understanding, and if somebody's watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, but from all of the research I've done, basically the ECU PSI, that's what the truck thinks it's putting out as far as the boost level. Okay, so I'm going to put a clip on your screen right now of me driving earlier today, and I'll show you what I mean. The ECU PSI is what the truck thinks it's putting out as far as boost. The boost is what it's actually putting out. Okay, so real quick, if we go back into map, you can see map 2 is roughly plus 4.5 pounds PSI over stock. Okay, so watch this video real quick. I'm going to put up on the screen, and what you're looking at here is if you watch my ESU PSI and my boost, you can see that when you start climbing up in boost, that's when you're going to see on average roughly around that 4 PSI higher on the boost end of it. Okay, so that's the difference between ESU PSI and the boost gauge. Again, you can see in that video, the boost when you start climbing is going to be roughly about 4.5 PSI higher than the ECU PSI. So that's pretty much how that part of it works, and that's why I like running them 2 gauges, just to see how much higher of a boost I am putting out over what the truck actually thinks we're putting out. Let's cover updating the firmware, and then I'll show you it on the main screen of the truck. So to update your firmware, go into settings. Again, down underneath advanced where we were, click on, see where it says firmware update, tap to modify. We're just going to click on that. Now in here, you may not have anything show up right here. These are files that I downloaded. What you want to do the first time, if you may not have anything there, come down to the bottom where it says browse latest firmware files. If you click on that, you're going to get a long list of platforms. We have to go all the way down to 85, where it says Toyota Tundra 3.5T for turbo. If you click on that, this is going to be the most up-to-date software versions for your truck. So you can see you have the stable version, which that's basically the version that's you know, it's out, it's, I don't want to say proven, but it's the stable version. They also have a beta version, which is kind of like a testing version, and this is the one I'm actually running that we have in this truck. One thing with the beta version at this point, the day of making this video, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you can, if you want to pause the screen and read that, or I'll explain it very briefly. What you can do if you're running the beta version, your drive mode selector on the truck, so how you can select eco, normal, or sport mode on the truck, you can set it up to where, let's say you want to set eco up to map 0, normal to map 1, sport to map 2, just for example. You can set it up however you want it. So you can do it to where anytime you turn your knob selector on your truck, let's say to go from, let's say you're in eco, the truck will automatically run map 0, whether you're connected to the app or not. If you change from eco to normal, it would change the JB4 to map 1. So, and so on and so forth, however you want to set that up. So that's what the beta version can do for you. It tells you exactly how to do it right there. I have not done that yet. because again, I basically just keep mine in map 2 no matter what I'm doing. Whether I'm in normal or sport, doesn't really matter to me. I just have it in map 2 99% of the time so far. All right, but that's the difference between the stable and the beta version. So let's say you want to run the beta version. All you do is click on it. See where down there where it says download firmware file. You're going to click on that. It'll do its thing. It doesn't take long at all. If I remember correctly, it only took maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds to download the file. Once you do that, now you can come back out here to where I said I've already downloaded those files. So that's where you'll see the files. Now to install it, this is where I ran into the issue. All right, so I wanted to install this bottom one, the P85 Toyota 2. That's the beta version. To install it, I'm only going to be able to go so far, but you'll get the picture here. You're going to click on it, which is going to bring you to this screen. Okay, basically, all you have to do is click on update. Now, I can't do that because I've already installed it, but where I ran into a problem is when I clicked on update, you see this bar down here that says signal strength, do not update if signal is red. My signal bar looked like it was right now. It wasn't green, it wasn't red, it was yellow, somewhere in between. So I assumed that I was safe to click on update. It did not work. I kept getting a message saying update failure, update failure. And the problem is when that happens, basically the JB4 doesn't have a firmware at that point. You cannot start your truck until this update completes. If you do, you're gonna get an error code. Your dash is gonna light up like a Christmas tree. That's, as I mentioned earlier, I had the code that I had to go in and clear. So make sure before you click on update, what I would recommend doing, what I ended up doing is, I actually popped my hood. If you guys saw my JB4 install video, you know where I have the module mounted. If not, I'll put a picture on the screen. But basically what I did was, before I clicked on update again, like after I was having the problems, I went and actually stood with the hood open. I went and stood right by my JB4 module. Then my whole signal, it was actually green. So I was at full strength. Okay, I clicked on update at that point and I still got an error message. So what I had to do at that point is, see where it says upload timeout 10? The problem was it wasn't updating fast enough. So all you got to do is click on this box. You can go in, whoops, okay. So if you click on that box, you can, I'm going to type in 30, hit return. So now you can see 30 is in that box. As soon as I did that, it worked perfectly fine. Okay, so the moral of this story is if you're having issues, number one, the signal strength, if that's not strong enough, if you're red or yellow, just go stand by wherever your module is mounted, okay? Number two is if you're still having a problem, just change that upload timeout to 30 instead of 10. At that point, it works perfectly fine for me. But as I mentioned, if you're having issues and you're getting the failure notice, do not start your truck until this completes and until you go in and do this. If you do, you're going to end up with error codes. Your dash is going to light up like a Christmas tree. I had to go in and clear that code out. It was just, it wasn't hard. It's just an extra step. Just kind of makes it a nightmare when it doesn't have to be. All right, so that's how to update. Again, I can't click on it because I've already done it, but if I clicked update right now, signal strength is okay. I'd probably go stand by the module as I mentioned, but that's how you're going to update. It'll take a minute or two, everything will kind of restart, and then you're perfect, you're good to go, up and running, and now you have the, in my case, the beta firmware. All right, last but not least, let me show you how to get it on your main screen here if you're running the Beniz box. So what I did was that when I downloaded the JB4 app on my phone and my iPad, which obviously Apple system, you do have to pay for that app. If you didn't see my install video, you do have to pay for that app. It's like $29 and change at this point, just shy of 30 bucks. No big deal. Paid for it, downloaded it, works awesome on my phone and my iPad. When I came to the Beniz box, which is an Android operating system, basically all you have to do is go into the Play Store. This is just like the App Store on your iPhone. This is where you're going to search for apps and things like that. When I did that and I went to download the JB4 app, it was asking me, basically telling me I had to pay for it again. I didn't want to do that, obviously, because I've already paid for it. So there was a gentleman in one of the forums I happened to come across who was already doing this. So I asked him what he did. What you have to do is email JB4, tell them that you've already purchased it on your iPhone. They're going to ask for like a screenshot of your receipt to prove that you already paid for it, and they'll send you a redemption code. So when you go to your Play Store and let's just search for JB4 Mobile app. When you go to download it, down the bottom of the screen, you're going to see your payment method. Like mine's hooked up to PayPal, so it had PayPal right there. I clicked on that, and all I did was enter the code that JB4 emailed to me, entered it, click submit, and it said it was then free. Okay, so the JB4 downloaded. Now we have it on the Beniz box. So if you're getting that thing where it's asking you to pay for it again, email JB4. They were awesome about it. All I had to do was send them a screenshot of the proof of purchase. They sent me that code, did not have to pay for it again. When you click on JB4 here, one thing to mention while this is loading up, I have this set up so where when I click on that pin, when I click on the app, it's going to automatically connect as well. So you cannot be connected to your phone and Beniz box at the same time. So on my phone, I disconnected. Like I closed out the app. I'm no longer connected on my phone. Okay, just a little note, it will not work on both at the same time. But as you can see, here it is right here on the Beniz box. If you want to pull all your gauges up here, you have the same options. I'm not going to go into detail. It's the same exact thing. Your settings are up here, the start logging, disconnect, everything is up here. I have the same 6 gauges, RPM, speed, intake air temperature, ECU, boost, map. Same thing, guys. You know, it's just having it up here on the big screen. You could do a split screen if you're not familiar with the Beniz box. Let's just say we want to run, I don't know, YouTube TV and the JB4. So we'll let YouTube TV load up here. You can do this with the Waze app, your mapping app, whatever. I'm just using this for an example. So if we click on that, you can see you could also run it as a split screen. Okay, so it's going to reconnect. And you can see it's vertical now. If you'd rather it landscape mode or like, you know, all you got to do is adjust your splits. So you can see YouTube TV is over here on the left. And now we have the different layout over here on the right. So pretty cool. You know, I got to be honest, I usually run it on my phone. Every now and then I'll pull it up on the bigger screen here, but for the most part, I usually have my mapping up on here, and then, you know, I'm listening to Sports Center while I'm driving or something like that. So I usually have the JB4 up on my phone, which is why I mount my phone up here. But however you want to do it, you know, it's that simple to do. And again, just different options. I do love the fact that you could pull it up on the bigger screen if needed. All right, guys, there you have it, the JB4 app in a nutshell. This video ran a little longer than I wanted it to, but I wanted to make sure I touched on that firmware issue and also how to get it on the big screen here. If you guys have any questions on anything I talked about or covered, or if there's anything else you want to see in particular, let me know as always down below. Appreciate it. Let me know if you guys if you're running this thing, if there's anything that you think is important that I missed or whatever. Comment down below and let me know. All right, questions, comments, or concerns, we will get them addressed for you. Thanks for watching as always. We'll catch you on the next one.